The land, the animals, and the people. Welcome to the Wolf Connection Podcast.
Pleasure to have this next individual here with me talking about her paintings, her inspiration, her artistic journey. Some of you have seen on our Instagram, we've posted her work before, and now having this collaboration on the podcast is really going to be a treat, to say the least. She comes to us from Bordeaux in France. She's a professional painter. If you can't find her, we will tell you her Instagram handle so that you guys can really see her fine art. Naïma, it's a pleasure to meet you. It's great to see you. And just really looking forward to talking about your artistic journey. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be with you as well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And you really have a lot of very fascinating through lines in your work, and talking about your story online. It's so rooted in nature. I know you went and visited Paris this past weekend, and you went back to Claude Monet. And this is a part of your story as a young woman that really inspired you or impacted you. Just tell everybody how that shifted, I guess, your appreciation either for nature and art, and how that came through at such a young age.
Well, first, I was born in Normandy. I was born in Rouen, which is like 1 hour from Giverny. It's where Claude Monet is from. And when I was young, I was 11 years old. I visited his house with my school. It was actually the first trip I ever done in my life. And when I think about it, it feels like yesterday. Really, I have like images in my head of me walking into his house. And it was also the first time I experienced fine art. Like my first experience was not going to a museum. It was his home. And I think it really moved me because everything was art. Like his garden was art, his home was full of art, but also the way he designed his home. Everything touched me deeply. I don't know. And I remember very well that after this visit, inside of me, I told myself that I wanted to be an artist. Like, it was like a revelation. I knew that's what I wanted to do in my life. But I was...
Yeah. And you describe it on your site, and I want to, you spoke to it just briefly here, that your life opened up, and you describe it as a lotus flower and that slow bloom. Talk about that and what that feeling, I guess, was like for you as you experienced Claude Monet for the first time, and why that was such a huge influence.
Well, I described it as a lotus flower because we know that the lotus grows in the dark, underwater. And I feel like it connects with my journey because in my life, when I was young first, it's like I was often in a dark place because I grew up in a family with lots of difficulties. I was not very free of doing what I wanted to do. As simple as just wearing the clothes that I wanted to wear, going where I wanted to go. I didn't felt free. So I was kind of often very sad when I was young. And so it took me a lot of time to emerge from this. And also that's why it took me a long time to become this artist, because as you've seen maybe on my website, I started to paint when I was in my 30s. And it was when I was 38 that I really decided to really change my way of saying things in life. And like, I don't know how to say that in English, but it was like one day I woke up and I told myself, I'm done with living in fear or not believing in myself. And I've decided that day to start painting. So when that happened, I remember Claude Monet's home and how I was feeling when I was young. And so the first painting that I created were actually Claude Monet's painting. I reproduced maybe 4 or 5 of his paintings, the water lilies. And when I did that, you have to know that I never painted before because I was thinking that I was not able to paint because I didn't went to art school. So what I did is just I bought paint, brushes, and I was like, let's see if I can paint. And I'm going to do what I love the most. And my favorite artist is Claude Monet. So yeah, that's how everything connected,
Yeah. It almost seemed like you had a rebirth
Yeah.
in that moment, and that you were able to find your way out of whatever the darkness was that you were talking about, just like the lotus flower. Does that resonate, that there was like that rebirth for you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A rebirth and a reconnection with my true self. Because, when you're very young and you create art as a child, you don't really think about if you're good or not in what you do. And I went back to that because for a very long time, I thought that I was not good enough in art and not talented enough. And that really stopped me from creating, actually.
And you had this shift, I think you were talking about around this same time when you went to painting, it seems full time, you were in graphic design, which is a completely different medium of expression.
Yeah.
So what was that? Because you said you never painted before. You're going into oil painting, acrylic, and drawing. And that was, I guess, part of your shift, right? That you just wanted to try or do something different that felt probably more natural. Am I correct in seeing that?
Yeah. First, I forgot to say that when I was a child, I was sketching animals.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah. I had encyclopedia. I was not able to go out as much as I wanted. So the encyclopedia, these books that I have were my way of traveling and learning about the world. And I was already fascinated by wolves, wildlife, and so I was sketching these animals. But I don't know, at some point I stopped. And graphic design, it came because when you're an artist, when it's part of you, you always want to create. And because I was thinking at that time that I was not good enough at sketching and even painting, I was like, I'm going to use my computer because I had a computer at a young age. So in the early 2000, it was 2001, I bought my first camera and I had what's the word? A software. You get a software when you buy a camera at that time. And right. I had a software for editing photos. And it was not Photoshop. It was just before Photoshop, long time ago.
Long time ago, yeah.
And that's when I started to learn graphic design, and I'm autodidact, so I learned all by myself. I didn't learn at school. I was so fascinated by that's another side of me, but I really love computers. I love creating websites, so it was almost natural for me to follow this path, and I really saw the creative side of it. And because I was not painting, it was like I'm still gonna create and be an artist in a different way.
Yeah, creatives have to create in some way. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
That thing lives inside of us.
Yeah.
To want to do something that is put out into the world that we can share with the world, no matter what it is, whether it's through, like you say, computer or painting or drawing or sketching. For the nature aspect for you, it really seems like that has been such a huge influence. And I pulled this from your bio. You say that every painting begins as a dialogue between instinct and intuition.
Yes.
And that feels to me, it's so rooted in nature. Everything you've talked about so far about having this rebirth, finding your natural path and being your true authentic self just seems to speak to that. So how does that process begin for you when you, I guess if you create anything, because you have this spectrum. So how does that dialogue begin between instinct and intuition for you as a creative in this space?
So first instinct, instinct for me is when there is a urge to do something that you can control. Much like the wolves, actually, they are led by their instinct, and there is a part of us that is led by instinct as well. I think we just forget about it sometimes. But each painting starts like this because it's like I wake up and I feel the urge to paint, to create, whatever it is. That's the instinct part. And the intuition is just, I feel is about trust. It's like intuition is linked with trust. And I just go with the flow, and I trust myself, and I don't overthink as well. And most of the time, if not always, actually, I don't know what I'm going to paint. That's why each painting I create starts with abstract painting, an abstract background, sorry. And this is like the most wild part of my process, I would say.
Yeah. When you begin that, because we spoke with a couple of other artists and they have what they consider the muse or something guiding them. We spoke with John Potter, creator is the one that talks to him. Do you have that muse for you?
I don't know. For me, it's the wolf. No, it's true, because we didn't talk about that, but it's also the wolf that led me back to art. It's very important because before I was painting, so I was doing graphic design, and at that time I was also traveling a lot. And when I started to travel with my husband, we were both attracted to wild nature. I mean, going to places where we could see wolves, bears, and any wildlife. And so my very first trip was Yellowstone. And when we were there, we saw wolves for the first time in the wild. And it was, I don't know, it was like reconnecting with reconnecting with a very, I don't know how to say in English, like the truest part of myself. Like I felt at home when I was there. It's kind of strange to explain this because I've always felt at home in North America. Since a long time, since I was young, I wanted to go there, and I was always saying that my first trip will be in North America. And when I went to Yellowstone and went back home, I really wanted to paint the wolf. So because I was not painting, I was doing graphic design, I created on Photoshop wolf paintings, but with Photoshop. Right. And I kept I had one painting I made with one wolf, a lone wolf. And I printed it on a canvas, and I had it in my home, and I was looking at it all the time. And I was like, I'm going to have to learn to paint because I really want to paint for real this wolf. And I think that's how the wolf led me back to art. So I forgot your question. I think the muse is the wolf.
The muse is the wolf, it seems. Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. That's such an incredible story, that wanting to come to North America to be in the wild and reconnect in that way really seemed to inspire you even more than, it seems like you have these 2 points of Claude Monet and then the wolf, and they just intertwine with each other, it seems, for you to create what you create most of the time.
And I want to say something about Claude Monet is that
Sure.
he always said that his greatest masterpiece was his garden, not even his art, his garden, the nature that he created, the garden that he created. And he loved it so much. That's why he painted it. But that's what I feel as well. Nature is the great masterpiece, and I'm just trying to translate it on Canva.
Man, I mean, is there a specific, other than I would say the wolf, because we're going to get more into this as we get into your process as you paint, what other influences from the natural world are sort of present within your works? We know I see a lot of, flowers and foxes and some different types of canis. Is there a specific influence other than, say those two things that you are always connecting with?
Yeah, I love to paint white flowers. I think this connects with my childhood because when I was very young, I really loved to, we had meadows, if that's how we pronounce it, near home, and I was just close to my home, to my house, and I was always looking at the white flowers and laying down in the field, dreaming, and I felt so free at this moment. So I always connected to flowers, white flowers, and also trees. In a lot of my paintings, I paint redwoods from California. I have been to California more than 10 times.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I really love California. I love the forest, the old forest, and I went there to visit Yosemite, and I was hoping to see wolves. I learned that they came back, by the way. But yeah, the wolf, the bears also. It seems like I really love the wildlife in North America and the taiga, as we say, because we have also wolves in Finland, in Scandinavia. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're painting and you're reconnecting with all of these different natural influences that are so ever present, how do you balance these different concepts within your art? Feminine, wild, romantic, because all of this seems ever present in those paintings, and the natural world really has all of that. So how do you try to balance those things?
I feel like the feminine, the wild, the romance, it makes one. It's just one thing, when I'm in nature, I feel, I don't know how to explain that in English, but I feel like nature and being in the wild is, when you sit in nature, I'm going to try to explain that. It seems in French in my head. I feel like when you are in nature, you sit in nature, in your garden or in the forest, and you just feel your surrounding. You create a connection with the wild. And this connection for me is love in a way. And that's the romance of it for me. And the feminine is letting your emotion, everything you feel, transcend you, if that makes sense. That's why I feel like these three things just make one. It's like making one with the universe you're surrounding, and
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I really do. And your paintings, they're layered, and just watching your process through all of it, you say so many poignant things on your website. and there's one, I keep pulling things from it, but you say that paintings are not chosen, but they're recognized.
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
Yeah, how does that this relate? Because again, this ties back to this nature in its purest form.
Hmm.
What is why why are they recognized and not necessarily chosen? What for you in
I
that sense?
I think it's because so we are talking about the art and the viewer, and I
Right.
think it's because they see themselves in the art, in the painting, and it's what has always happened with my collectors. Every time they see a painting and they say, I feel this painting is made for me, and that's why I say it's recognized. You know, you even sometimes it's kind of strange, but I have been painting a lot of feminine portraits, and I don't use a source for the portrait. I mean, sometimes I use a source just for the the pose of the woman, like if she, or even sometimes I take my photos myself. But when I paint, I don't reproduce the photo. So it's all about intuition. And it happened twice that I painted someone and it looks exactly like her. So,
Really?
yeah, it's kind of crazy, but it happened twice. And so that's also another way to say that you recognize the painting. But most of the time, it's the story. It's the elements that I have in my painting. It can be like the redwoods that I paint, the butterflies, symbols. People see themselves in, in my they see themselves in my creations. So
People, when we talk with folks about the wolf dogs and the wolves in our pack, we say that the wolves are a mirror into themselves. Do you feel that when you are making these paintings, you're looking for people to see a piece of themselves, whether it's with the trees or the flowers or the wolf, when you create something from, your sessions?
well, every time I create a painting, I don't really think, you know, I just really, like I said, most of the time I don't know what I'm gonna paint. It starts with colors, and then I have images in my head. Um, Sometimes when you create an abstract painting, after you see, you know, shapes, and sometimes the shapes looks like a certain animal, or, you know, and I don't really paint in order for people to see themselves in the painting. It just happens. Um, and as for the feminine portrait that I do with wolf and other animals, um, I've always wanted to paint women and wolves because I feel like we have a connection with wolf women. We have similarities, like resilience, being resilient, survival. Women have been surviving a lot in this world. It's a man world, I feel, and for centuries, I think that women have been fighting to live the way they want to live and to be themselves. Uh, so these paintings, I feel, talks a lot to women because of that.
You you led right into my next what I'm talking about next, because that's a it's a it's really a straight connection to wolves in the wild feminine, this untamed part. You and this is a lot of all this stuff. Everyone that who's listening is I'm pulling from uh, Naima's website. Is the untamed part of the soul refusing to be domesticated, and this whole journey and this whole story that you've been sharing about yourself and this painting journey really draws such a parallel to what you do as as a professional, as this artist of who you are. And you've had these incredible influence from Yellowstone, and you were talking about wolves in Europe. I mean, what what other than what you've described already, is there other symbolism that wolves, you know, are in your art? Like what else do they symbolize other than that wild, that feminine, that free, wanting to be free?
What do they symbolize?
Yeah, in your art. Yeah, other than what we were discussing.
I think that most of all they symbolize this longing for freedom. It's really, I think, the most important part of it, regarding if it's just a wolf painting or a woman in a wolf. And I feel also this way because I've been longing for freedom for a long time. Because I was not able to, like I said, when I was young, and women in my family were not free of doing what we wanted to do. My mother was not free of choosing her life, and wolves are not free today in a way because they are persecuted still, and it feels like they cannot live the life they should be living. How to say that? I mean, that's how I see the similarities with humans. We all want to be free, and wolves as well. And I think that's the main energy in my paintings. Yeah.
Yeah. When you put this energy out and when you're painting wolves and you're painting the feminine and you're expressing this to the world, do you feel you're pouring some of your freedom and your creativity to others so that they can feel those
Yes.
types of emotions?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that's what my collectors tells me, that's how they feel about the paintings, and it also inspires them in their own journey to to trust themselves, to trust their instinct, and do what they love. Because I feel that in life often we are blocked because of fear of doing things. I mean, that's how I felt myself. It was always fear of failure. Sorry. And in my art, I also want to transmit this, that no matter what's in front of us, we must keep going. And as always, I always see in my mind a connection with the wolf, because no matter what, they keep going. They keep, yeah, I can't find the word. Sorry.
They keep living.
Yeah.
And they keep being who they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
As authentically as possible.
Yes.
And you talk about this, about the soul refusing to be domesticated. The wild
Yes.
really never leaves us. And talk about that loyalty to your soul and to that authentic self. For you, why is that important, to be loyal to who you are as, within your soul and within your creativity? Why is that so important to be loyal to that?
Well, because I think first that we should be always following our heart, and we shouldn't get lost. I mean, in this world of consumerism, and that's always what I think about. Everyday's life of going to work, waking up, going to work, and and forgetting about living, and what's living really, what brings you happiness, what brings you joy, and being authentic with myself, and as you say, loyal to myself, is always remembering that, and doing what I love. And if I can, because I know it's not possible for everyone. I mean, it's like a reminder, yeah, to always come back to yourself, and do what you really want to do in your life.
The Wolf Connection podcast is now sponsored by our new partner, Jacques-Marie Mage. This LA-based brand is known for their limited edition, handcrafted eyewear and luxury goods, but also for their stewardship program, which supports various nonprofits and individuals who are working to protect a future for wild wolves.
I want to know too, could you, and I'll read more from what you wrote on your site here. Each painting is an invitation to reconnect with a more instinctive and sensitive part of oneself, what I call the wild remembered.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite line, and it came to me because when I looked at this painting, by the way, I think it's the painting that represented the most this line, this feeling. I said the wild remember it because it's like a mantra. It's something you have to always remember and think of. It's going back to yourself and who you are, and not getting lost, basically. Yeah, that's how I feel about this story.
No, it's fine. How do you yourself try every day to not get lost, to go back to those places where you weren't creatively free, maybe physically free, whatever it may be? What's the way you try to not, not be lost in that way?
Well, for me, it's not difficult, honestly, because I have been creating since a long time, and it's been a very, very long time that I tell myself all the time that I should take time in my day to create and do something that I really love. So for me, it's painting, but before that, it was creating. I was creating jewelry, for example, sketching, going in nature. Like every morning I wake up and I have a forest near my place, and it's just 5 minutes from here. And every morning I go for a walk. I connect with nature, with the trees. I listen to the birds. And if I can go for any reason, I just go out and I take a moment in nature. That's my way of staying connected to Mother Nature, and that's also what keeps me inspired.
How can your art inspire protection, connection for maybe those that don't have the forest 5 minutes from their home, or the creativity that you have in art? How do you think it can do those things for folks that are looking for those, inspirations, protecting, animals that they feel need it, and the connection with the natural world?
Well, first, for the protection, I think the more we talk about it, the better. So many people, especially wolves, because there are so many false stories about them, and also ancient stories that only talks negatively about the wolves. So the more we talk about it and the more we are curiosity, I think, is really important in life. And that's also what led me to everything that I've learned about the wolf. I was curious. And when you're curious, you're creative in a way, I think, because it's always going to inspire you to do something after. It can be writing, sharing online, anything that you do to share the information is going to be helpful for any wildlife you like and you want to protect, or and what was the other question?
Well, you brought up another one, actually, because you mentioned a couple of words. How do you balance curiosity with fear? And like you said, your curiosity led you down this beautiful artistic path. How do you balance curiosity and the fear, like you say, of possibly failing, or has that sort of left your life at this point?
Well, the day that I started to, I always say, allow myself to create. It's the day that I changed my mind. I told myself basically that fear is not going to stop me anymore. So whatever I create, whatever I do, even if I fail, it's fine. Failing. How to say that in English? I have the word in French, but in English I don't know. Failure leads you to create more, I think, because you learn when you fail something. And also failure in art especially, what does it mean really? You can create a painting, but maybe you think it's a failure, but someone else wants. And it had happened to me before, because I've even destroyed some of my painting because I thought they were, a long time ago, I thought they were not good, but after I took always photos and I showed the painting to someone, and they said it was a beautiful painting. And so, we always have this self-critic, that's how you say, and it's always so negative. And I would say that to stay curious and create no matter what comes out, and also in creation there is healing. Creating is healing. I've also wrote a guide. Is that how you say? A guide to encourage people to create, even if they are not artists. You just take a piece of paper and whatever it is, whatever medium you like, I think the best is watercolor. It's very easy to use. You just need water and a brush, and just mix colors and let your emotion, flow on the paper. And I feel like, that's how I balance what you said, like fear and curiosity. And I think we just have to keep creating and sharing no matter what. Creating now.
Yeah, I mean, you say this too. I believe that art can be a bridge between beauty and awareness. And I feel like this covers so many different things that we've spoken about, whether it's, the feminine, the wild, nature, conservation, whatever it may be. It just seems like this is the door that can open to so many different things for people to realize whatever is passionate within them, that art may be able to open that up. Even if it's just viewing art, it could open something up.
Oh yeah, it can awaken so many things inside of you. And yeah, when you look at a piece of art, you always feel something, and it's always going to lead you somewhere. And awareness, for me, because I paint a lot of animals, I want people to be curious about them. Like, for example, I love to paint wolves that are resting or sleeping, and a few times people have told me that in my art, they really look like they have a softness. They don't see the wolf as a dangerous creature, because also lots of people. I've seen so many illustrations of wolves that look aggressive, and I really want to paint the other side of the wolf. So yeah, that's a way of making people maybe wonder and be curious about the animal. And so I do that for most of my paintings.
Well, you have the painting that's behind you on the wall that I can see, and I think you sent this one to me that we can promote, is just the a hand coming out of the left side of the canvas,
Hmm.
really pointing towards the wolf's nose, and there's this very stoic but soft, glance basically at this hand. And now that you mention this, I've noticed in a lot of your paintings that wolves are sometimes they're encased in the arms of, a woman, or like you say, resting and seeing, like you say, this different side of wild. And
Yes.
that even though we as humans maybe think we're sometimes above the wild, that we have this different look, we can feel those things too. And that as aggressive as humans can be sometimes, we obviously can rest. And as
Hmm.
aggressive as other animals need to be, they also need to rest and
Yeah.
be and are soft and gentle in those different interactions.
They are just like us, I feel. And what you said, we are. Some people think we are above wildlife, above animals and nature. This painting I titled "We Belong to the Wild." I belong to the wild, or we belong to the wild. That's the title of the painting, and that's really this message that I wanted to share. That we are one. We make one. We cannot live without each other. We are both essential. Um, and also, this painting invites people, I think, to wonder why these hands reaching the wolf. What's this connection? I like when people think. When it awakens something inside them and push them to go further and maybe search. Wants to learn more about a certain animal. And I wanted to say something else. I forgot.
It's okay. I I didn't ask you in the beginning, but I'd love to hear one of your wolf stories from when you visited Yellowstone, what that first viewing interaction was like in those moments, because we didn't touch on that. So please, if there's something you can remember, that'd be
Yeah, well,
great.
I can remember. It feels like yesterday. it, it's it's been many years. It was 2011, September. We decided to go there during fall, so we were thinking maybe there were less people than summer. And so I remember like yesterday. Before that, you have to know I was already reading about Yellowstone. I had books. I knew that we could see wolves over there and that people were observing wolves. And when I went there, I heard that at Indian Creek campground, I don't know if you know this
Hmm.
one. I read that during the night we could hear the wolves howling there, like it was all the time. And so when I went there, we decided to have our tent there, and during the whole night we heard the wolves, and we heard the coyotes as well. But it was my very first experience, and I feel I don't know. It makes me shiver when I think about it because it was it was so intense. And when you hear a wolf howling, it's like it's like you reconnect with the most ancient part of humanity. I don't know how to say that, but it was very strong feeling. And so that day, that night, with my husband, we woke up super early because I knew that the wolves were active. And we decided to take the car and just drive very, very slowly out of the campground. And at that moment, a wolf just crossed in front of us. It was so magical. I wrote everything, every encounters I had with wolf, I wrote it in my journal. So there was this one, and then we went to Lamar Valley, and we watched with other wolf lovers. So I saw the what's the name? It was not the Druid, the Druid pack.
Yep. Was it Junction Butte?
I think yes.
Okay.
just the pack. I mean, in this pack, there were like one, I think, wolf left from the druid, or it was a descendant of the druid.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know the word in English. So
okay.
yeah, we for 2 days we watched them, and they were hunting, and we slept at the campground that was just next. And one night we even slept in the car. It was not allowed, but we couldn't find a space in the campground, so it was the most incredible night.
And I mean, yeah, just listening to you because I've had some of those experiences also going to Yellowstone and listening to them howl, watching them come through the valley, seeing them take down prey. And you're absolutely correct in that it awakens or stirs something that maybe was dormant for a while.
Yes.
And it really gets you, as you said, there's this pull universally, whatever you want to look at it, to, feel the grass and to connect to these things that we've sort of drawn ourselves away from.
Yeah.
And man, just having those experiences, I'm sure, was just more for you a reaffirming that the path you were eventually going to take is the right one. And they were guiding you that way.
Yeah, like I said, it's the wolves that led me back to myself and becoming who I was supposed to become since I was a child. I wanted to be an artist, so it led me back to this in a way. And after that trip, I went back to Yellowstone. But before that trip, before 2017, I went to Canada, to Jasper and Banff National Park. I met an amazing man there who took us on a hike, and he showed us wolf trace.
Like wolf tracks or wolf den? Yeah. Okay.
It was during spring, so there wasn't snow everywhere, so it was kind of easy. And I saw a black wolf, a lone black wolf when I was there. It was magical as well because he looked in my eyes for a moment. I took photos. I didn't have a good camera, but he looked at me and for a moment, and then he left. It was magical.
What do you think he was relaying to you in that moment?
What?
What do you think he was saying to you in that moment when you had that encounter?
Trust your inner instinct. Trust your inner voice, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. This has been such a beautiful conversation about process and creativity and inspiration. And I hope everyone that's listening, that will listen to this, gains something from your journey and understanding that you have to continue to, find the path that's best for you. I have two more things before we wrap up. What's the best way for people to continue to see the work you're doing on? Actually, I have three things. What's the next? Are you working on I'm sure you're working on another piece, but what's the piece that you're working on currently that you can maybe share with anybody who's listening? Because they won't be able to visually see it, but what do you have?
I don't know if you see it in the back.
I do, yeah.
It's Takaya. I'm painting him again. I've been painting Takaya, the wolf from British Columbia, who passed away in, it was 2021?
Yes, I believe so.
March. Yeah. I remember well. No, 2020, I think.
It was somewhere around there. I don't know exactly when Takaya passed. Yeah, I
think it was 2020. It moved me because it was the time when we had to stay at home, in that period, and something changed, in the world at that time, and he disappeared at that time as well. And so I've been painting him a lot since then. And it also the first wolf painting I created when I started oil painting. And so now I'm working on this piece. And so, yeah, I'm super excited. I actually started it today, just before we were talking.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how
Well,
much you got done. Yeah. Her inspiration is unmatched, I think, at this point.
But I have been
Naima, go ahead.
to Vancouver Island in 2019, and that's when I learned about Takaya, and that I went there in hope to see him actually, and also to see coastal wolves. We slept with my husband on an island. We didn't see them, but we see tracks
Yep.
of wolves. So yeah, I have. I really, really love this part of the world, Vancouver Island. So it's also it inspires me a lot for my paintings as well.
Yeah. We have to get up there and see that.
Yeah.
Boy, you've hit some places I haven't been. So you're doing you're traveling all over. What is the best way for people to support, to see what you're doing and follow along on your journey? We'll obviously have links to everything, but just tell people, because I'm sure you'll get some messages after this podcast of
Mhm.
people wanting to see your work. So what's the best way for them to stay connected with you?
The best way is, well, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Naïma Namaste. And you can visit my website. I have all of my artwork available on naimanamaste.com or naimafineart.com. So yeah, you can see my wolf collection and all of my artwork. And I always love to connect with people, so you can talk with me on Instagram.
Yeah, she's been so great to collaborate with and to talk to, and I can tell you, my last question for you is: when you hear the word wolf, what is the thing that comes to your mind?
Freedom. It's always freedom and wild. Yeah, being wild and free. That's what comes to me. And I also discovered, I forgot to say, and then we're done.
Sure, go ahead.
When I started to paint women and wolves, and I was even more searching the connection between women and wolves and wolves, I searched for my, I looked for my birthday and the moon during my birthday, and I discovered that I was born under the wolf full moon in January. And
Is that
yeah,
wow.
I always wonder why the wolf and not another animal. And I think that also may be one of the reasons I was born during the wolf full moon. So
My goodness. I mean, if all roads didn't lead to this path, I don't know. You've had such clear signs, clear signals to this. I also want to mention too, before we sign off, if anybody wonders, and it's on Naima's website, all of her materials from canvas to paints are all biodiversity friendly. So
yes,
canvas, solvent, oils, varnish, everything. And so if that doesn't make you want to go out and maybe, support her work and buy some of her paintings, that's another reason. I mean, it's just
thank you.
everything is so naturally thought of to make this eco-friendly and an eco-solvent. It's so incredible that you do all this stuff.
Yeah, I've been searching for this because at first, oil painting, I always learned that oil painting is toxic. Well, it's not the paint that is toxic, it's the solvent. And immediately I searched for non-toxic, and I found two brands. So I'm so happy, one in Europe and one in US also. And I use gambling oils, which is also an amazing brand. You'll have people have to check this brand if they want to start oil painting, because they are based in Portland in US.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yeah, they create non-toxic products. So
Yeah. It has been an absolute pleasure to finally meet you, to put a face to the paintings, and really, truly inspired by your journey and the continued work that you do. Thank you so much for for being with me and having this conversation.
Thank you so much as well. It was my pleasure, really. It's the first time that I actually tell my story. So it was very moving for me. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're welcome back anytime. Just hang tight while we sign off here. House to y'all out there. Be with you next time. Bye, everybody.
Looking for more information about Wolf Connection or the podcast? Visit our website at wolfconnection.org, where you can donate, sponsor a wolf, or become a volunteer. Thank you for listening.